Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And when a pair of photographers, while exploring an abandoned building, encounter a squatter who causes one of the photographers traumatic memories of their past to resurface. This is our raw reaction review for Black Mold. This video is sponsored by Full Moon Features. If you love horror collectibles, make sure to check out Full Moon's Tiny Terrors. Stick around for more information at the end of the video, or go to the website in the link below. Alrighty, Luke, so we are here, another day, another early screener, and this one was a real interesting find, I must say. I think I had heard about this a couple months back. It premiered at a festival. I gotta look up which one that was exactly.
Panic Fest. I know what.
Panic Fest. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, Panic Fest. It was one that definitely caught my eye. I know Dread Central had been talking about it a little bit. You know, I saw some, of course, bloody disgusting articles and things like that. Kind of just talking about what a delight this one was, and what a surprise. And so it immediately caught my intrigue, and it kind of was pretty quiet from here on out after that. And that was months ago that I even read any of that. And then we had the trailer just a couple of weeks ago, and what coincided with the trailer was we did reach out and we got ourselves a screener of the film, and now we are here to discuss it. And I gotta say, I was definitely looking forward to this. I thought that it was a neat concept. I didn't look too deep into it, other than just knowing that it had to do with abandoned buildings, obviously Black Mold, and that it was a psychological horror. And Luke, what was your first exposure to this? Was it the trailer, or did you have a little bit more insight?
I think we may have discussed it a few months ago. Just briefly, obviously, and then obviously once the trailer came out, we decided to cover it on Sunday Scaries, just because, for me, my forte is I love slashers and creature features and everything, but the psychological aspect of horror always really intrigues me, and to see what route someone's going to go down, because there are so many different avenues that you can implement into storytelling. So as soon as this one, the trailer came out, some of those images came out, it was definitely intriguing, especially the one that we're using in the background here, with Scarecrow and a pumpkin head and everything. It's one of those things where you start raising a lot of questions of what are they going to do here? Because I think there is so much room to play, especially just by the title Black Mold. I think a lot of people can kind of infer maybe what this is going to be dealing with, and what kind of events are going to ensue. And our brief discussion on Sunday Scaries, we talked about maybe what this could be, and I think we were pretty much on the money for it. As soon as that trailer came out, as soon as the images popped up, I think on Bloody Disgusting, it was instantly on my radar of something we definitely had to check out.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was definitely intrigued. I know we talked pretty highly about it on Sunday Scaries, but actually getting to sit down and watch this, I'm just gonna come out and say it was a real treat for me. I kind of, you had prefaced it a little bit before, because you obviously had watched it before me. For those who don't know, Luke is very diligent about our screeners. He's very on top of things, and usually takes me a day or two to get on with it. But I had gotten a little bit of a nudge from you on basically just your thoughts and feelings a little early, and so I kind of went into it. I guess not necessarily really feeling any type of way, I guess is the best way to say it. I didn't have your thoughts and feelings were very spoiler free. You did tell me about one element that I was happy to see pop up, but it was one of those things where I still went into this very open-minded, and just trying to only piece together what I could. And I gotta say, I was very pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed Black Mold.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna second that as well. You never really know going into these, especially something lower budget. Sometimes they kind of overshoot a little bit in terms of what what they try to put in the film and themes they try to tackle. But when you look at something like psychological horror, I think in that aspect, the room that they can play in, it kind of grounds it a little more, and I think it's a little gentler toward a limited budget in a sense. And I think, like, looking at Black Mold, I think they definitely made use of that psychological aspect, and I think they implemented kind of outside force in a sense, where it's almost a dealer's choice of what they're going to be dealing with in a sense. So I love the background that a lot of these characters are going through. I mean, we get to go through this with learning some fears of a few different characters in there, and I think any viewer is going to be like, oh, that's going to come into play later, and I think they do it really well, where I think you're waiting for that the shoe to drop and kind of all these events to unfold, and they spruce it in throughout the actual film. It's not like we do start off with a event for our female lead, Brooke, I believe her name is, kind of getting her background, her history a little bit, and kind of how that's gonna play a little bit later into the film. And I really enjoy that, because it kind of it takes the viewer learning a little bit but not knowing too much, and kind of wondering where this is going to lead. And I think Black Mold does that really well with all the characters that we do see in the film.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, first things first, I want to second what you're saying there about the cast here. I thought that they were all really, really well done. I think that our main three, there is kind of like a fourth character in here who you see very sparingly as the film continues on. But yeah, Agnes, Albright, and Andrew Bayliss, I think his name is. And then, of course, somebody that I had praised just earlier this year from Brooklyn 45, Jeremy Holm makes an appearance in this. And again, really knocks it out of the park, dude. Like, this guy, if I'm going to really gloat about anybody in this film, it's Jeremy Holm. I think that this guy really has a wonderful talent for just taking over the screen. I mean, like, he really... when he first got in and he first popped up, it was one of those things where I just thought, okay, there's no way that this role, because, the kind of character he's playing at first, I'm like, okay, this is kind of going to be a little less meaty for him as opposed to what it was in Brooklyn 45. And no, dude, like, he has a lot of layers to this character. There's a lot going on there. And I really love his delivery and just how he portrays this character. There's so much... and I guess to kind of pivot onto both performances, there is so much humanity and so much just like raw emotion that Jeremy Holm is able to bring to the big screen. And I got to say, I was blown away again by this gentleman. And he's definitely somebody that is on my radar now. He's got a film from 2018 called The Ranger. I've never seen it. I'm definitely going to go check it out just because of him now. I am completely sold in the Jeremy Holm camp.
Yeah, and when we discussed this on Sunday Scaries, I know Jeremy Holm from The Ranger. That's, I think, the only property I've seen of his, honestly, and what a tremendous role that is. So as soon as I realized that he was attached to this, I was really excited to see his performance, and I gotta say, he doesn't disappoint. I think, diving into the psychological aspect here, it does ask a lot from performance-wise from all the characters. It is such a hefty role on... I think on every sense of, because there are moments of where you're kind of just sitting with these characters and dealing with the issue at hand and learning the dynamic that is taking place, and kind of almost a chess game where you kind of have to walk on eggshells to make sure you're going to get out of this big facility alive. And one of the key scenes for me is there is a scene in here between our two main characters on one side of a door and Jeremy Holm on another. And I think it lasts for about 4 minutes. And it's one of those things where it's just dialogue heavy, explaining things, kind of building that tension. I think they do build that tension really well. And it moves really quick, where it's like some of those scenes can kind of linger, especially throughout this film where it is a lot of the characters almost standing in a circle talking. But I think the dialogue choices are really well done, and I think the relationships established here are really well done. I know we had talked about another film, Dark Windows, a few weeks ago, which is a slow burn, and I was really happy with the relationships that they built there. And Black Mold was reminiscent for me in a sense, because I know I praised that film a lot in terms of the relationships of the characters. And I think Black Mold did that really well. Also in terms of that kind of psychological aspect and the past trauma that everyone's dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. I do agree with you on the relationships built here. Our main two characters, that being Brooke and Tanner, who you spend the majority of the time here with, are just excellent. I mean, I've praised Jeremy Holm a lot in my last little like sentences here, but like these guys are also wonderful. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that some of the best aspects of this movie come down to the performances. I think it's the performances and the writing, especially, that really will captivate you and keep you interested. Because really, at the end of the day, this movie doesn't have a lot of cards necessarily in the scare department, necessarily in the set piece department. Now there are, don't get me wrong, but it's genuinely very interesting that we have more of a psychological approach to this horror film, and they took the time and the effort to weave characters that you actually enjoy watching and you enjoy seeing. Like, I feel genuinely terrified at one moment for Tanner's character, and you gotta say, like, that is very rare. I do not get that all the time with horror films, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to see this person die. I don't want to see this person go through anything harsh. And that really comes down to, I think, all the actors and just their wonderful performances. And again, I think that the writing is very comparable here too. I think that there was a real effort put behind this screenplay. And again, I guess I got to give all that credit to John Pata, the director and writer of this one, sole credited for both. But you can really tell that he had a vision here and he really wanted to execute it to the best of his abilities. And I really think that he nailed this. I think that he really hit it on the head as far as what I'm looking for out of that kind of psychological horror.
Yeah, and usually anytime I see where it's kind of a sole voice of just one person writing, directing a certain property like this, I get a little more excited, I think, because there's less hands in the pot, and you're going to get that director and writer's vision of what they really wanted to say. And I think it does shine through here, especially. I had a chance to look this up a few days ago, and I mean, it's on Wikipedia, so take it for what it is. But they talk about the director kind of dealing with some mental health issues and kind of getting help for that, and then kind of being inspired and kind of writing the screenplay. And I think, the way that the mental issues are handled from the backstory of our characters throughout this, I think are handled really well. It doesn't come off as cheesy or kind of, tropey in a sense. I think, again, it all feels real. It feels like characters of Tanner and Brooke are two people that you would actually see out and converse with, and it's not a character, or like a character in a sense where we have the jock or the brain or anything like that. These are just characters on a even playing field. And there are some, I know it's not necessarily heavy like you said in the scare department, but when they use that, I think it's done really well. There's if you watch the trailer for this, there is a funeral, and they go into that, and that kind of terrifying scene that ensues there. And some of the effects I think that are used really do stick with you. It's one of probably the big highlights scenes for me throughout this. It's just terrifying. And then when we do see Tanner with a few different things, I think that stuff is very scary as well, that kind of build up the tension. I think the tension here is really well done.
Absolutely. And we've been praising this. We have been very kind to this, but I do want to say I do have one minor criticism. I don't think this is going to affect me in subsequent viewings. Now that I know that it's here, I still really enjoy the film, but I do have to admit that I think that the ending for me was a little anticlimactic, was a little bit less of that kind of When it comes to like these psychological thriller horror films, I kind of anticipate more of a twist, more of something to kind of really set us off. But I felt like they played it very safe in the sense of how they wrapped things up. I felt like it was just one of those things where it just felt very convenient to me that that's how they would handle it. And I just thought for a film that was taking quite a few risks in as far as like what they chose to show with their scares and what they chose to show with their set pieces, and just to the extent that this psychological aspect was getting to our characters, I just felt at the end of it that it was just like, this feels very easy, this feels very safe, this felt very much in the kindest way possible. This felt very much like this was the ending that was written on the first pass, and it kind of just stayed that way. Because it makes sense. I mean, it does. It's not. It's something, again, I can't be too overly harsh on, but it is a criticism that I do, if I have to say anything, lay to its feet.
Yeah, for me, I think the ending worked. It was a little more surprising, for me, actually. Because where you go with this, and you look at it face value, you watch the trailer, uh, if we have three characters, two on one side, one on the other, and we're dancing around spoilers, but you think maybe you know how it's going to end. But, after the credits are rolling and you realize the results of what actually happened, and it's like, well, I didn't necessarily see that one coming in terms of, the resolution that we were going to get. So I was surprised in that aspect of it. And I think by the end of it, it does come off pretty performance heavy in terms of
Hmm.
seeing different facets of the character and personality and things, whether they're real or not. We had talked about it previously, and I had my thoughts on it, and I said, uh, I thought it was a good film. I was just left wanting more, but I don't know exactly what that was, and kind of sitting with it now. I guess it's a critique, but it's hard to justify the critique in a sense, because this is a smaller film, and everyone would love a bigger budget. So more so, my critique is that, like, when we're kind of dealing with these fears of people, and we're getting that psychological aspect of it, and these visions and things, I would have loved to have sit with those a little bit longer and maybe draw those out. There's a scene with Tanner that we both talked about that is uh, pretty terrifying. I would have loved to have seen that almost drawn out for a few more minutes, rather than there does appear to be a hard cut getting us out of one particular scene and into the next with that character. I really would have loved to have seen that, we're outside in the elements, and him kind of dealing with that aspect. And that goes with some of the other, a lot of the other psychological things that we're playing with as well. I think I would have loved to seen those drawn out. Now this is an hour 30 something, I think maybe an hour 32, which I've said several times is my sweet spot for a horror film. This is one of those ones where I would have maybe loved an extra 10 minutes just to kind of play in that psychological aspect of everything.
I feel like that's the game we always play with ourselves, man. Is like, when it's good, it's not enough, but when it's we're questioning it, it's a little too much.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with you. That hour 32 is sweet. It is a breeze to get through. And yeah, I do think that it does run the risk of having people want a little bit more. But again, that's a good sign. I gotta say, it's a good criticism to have, because this is something that I do plan on revisiting. This is something that I could easily see creeping its way into my top 10 this year so far. I mean, just comparing it, I'm very positive on it. I want to see where I'm sitting with the rest of the year, but I've enjoyed this quite a bit. It was, again, one of those things where I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the setting and the scenario. And I think that this does make me very positive as far as seeing what more the director John Pata has in store for us. And I really, really liked his direction as well. I think that he's got a very nice cinematic eye, and for a film, that involves photographers, I very much appreciated just the amount of playing with the camera that they did, as far as just like they would see a shot of something and they would basically recreate it with the camera itself, and you would see that shot. And I thought that was all really well done. Again, it's just these little attentions to detail that I deeply appreciated. And yeah, I gotta say, overall, I was very impressed with Black Mold. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I have no idea when this is going to be released as of right now to the public. I will reach out to our contact, and if they do have an idea, I will make sure to put that in the description. So check down there. But yeah, other than that, guys, like, yeah, this is one for me that I think really hit. And if you are into psychological thrillers or horrors, I say this is definitely worth checking out as soon as you can get the chance.
Yeah, and looking at this, I think the story is there. I think it's a lot of fun in a certain particular way. Depending.
There is a sequence. If you know us, I'm sure that's what you're hinting towards.
Yes.
If you know Luke and I in this channel, yeah, there's a spot, and I was surprised because he did tell me about that before I watched it, and when you said that, I was a bit surprised, but it works great.
Go look at our inaugural return episode of Splattercast, but I think it's a great watch. Again, it's very psychological. It's very much the characters sitting around talking, but it doesn't linger, and I think you run that risk sometimes. But this one, you really do get through it really quick. And looking at some of the ones that we've had in just over the past couple months, The Passenger, Dark Windows I mentioned, and now Black Mold, all psychological heavy in terms of a lot of character work and getting those backstories. Black Mold's right up there with those other two for me. So, I think this one is a definite recommend. Again, whenever this is released on whatever platform or where this goes, definitely make some time for this one because you're going to get through it. I think it's going to be something that will sit with you. There's some imagery in here that is really terrifying and really great, although sparing. I think they make the most of it, and there are a lot of lovely shots in here. So definitely recommend for me.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap us up here for our review of Black Mold. If you have gotten a chance to check this out, let us know what you thought, and let us know what your favorite parts were without spoilers. But of course, if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, definitely probably follow the company. I'm going to pull it up right here. I know that we spoke with the Line Films Company and Shatterglass Pictures. Follow them on their social media, and I'm sure they will post updates as soon as this one becomes available. And yeah, I really hope that it sees distribution here in 2023. I think that if they get it out within the next month here, going into Halloween, I think that this would be a nice little gem for people to pick up, even if we go into November with this. I think that there's a lot of great imagery here and a lot of great feeling, a lot of tones that would be very fitting. So yeah, I definitely hope that this one gets out to you guys. But other than that, we got a lot of great stuff on the channel. We just had another episode of Sunday Scaries, of course, where we talk about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, and all the updates and fun stuff with that, as well as our promotion we're running with Full Moon Features and the Tiny Terrors. Yes, they are on their way. We have a lot of great stuff coming with that, and a lot of good stuff coming with Full Moon Features in the coming months. But if you guys are looking for more updates on those, there is a link in the description where you guys can subscribe to it, and basically as soon as we know new information, you guys will too. But yeah, that's gonna wrap us up here. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell,
And I'm Luke Janisko.
and remember, stay scared.